Have you ever wondered if there's someone out there made just for you? The idea sounds romantic, but it might actually be one of the biggest traps society has ever created. Millions of people spend their lives waiting for the one, while dealing with frustration, disappointment, and relationships that never seem to be enough. But what if everything you've been taught about love is wrong? What if the key to a real relationship isn't about finding, but understanding? The belief that there's only one perfect soulmate for each person is a myth that brings more pain than happiness. Sadhguru breaks down this idea with sharp humor, showing how this expectation leads to constant disappointment. After all, expecting someone to be exactly what you imagine is a recipe for failure. People change, grow, and rarely match the romanticized version we create in our minds. If someone spends their life searching for the perfect half, they might end up missing out on incredible opportunities to experience love in a genuine and realistic way. Think about a couple who meet, and at first, everything seems perfect: similar interests, amazing chemistry, aligned dreams. But over time, small differences start to show, and the illusion of perfection begins to fade. Many people give up at this point, thinking, maybe it wasn't meant to be. The problem isn't the partner, it's the unrealistic expectation that a relationship should always be easy and effortless. Love isn't about finding someone who meets all your needs from day one. It's about growing and adapting together. After all, if everyone is looking for the perfect person, who's actually willing to be that person? Sadhguru jokes that if soulmates really existed, they would have already been mathematically assigned across the universe. But think about it, would two identical people even be able to keep a relationship exciting? The secret isn't in finding someone who perfectly fits your fantasy. It's in understanding that every relationship requires effort, commitment, and a more realistic view of love. Instead of searching for someone to complete you, maybe it's more valuable to look inward and become someone capable of building a deep, meaningful connection. Instead of wasting time searching for the right person, the real question is, are you becoming the right person? Sadhguru emphasizes that healthy relationships don't happen by luck or destiny, they happen because both people cultivate their own happiness before trying to share it. If someone enters a relationship expecting their partner to fill the emptiness inside them, frustration is bound to creep in sooner or later. Happiness has to be built from the inside out. When two happy people come together, the relationship becomes a genuine exchange, not a desperate search for validation. Think about the difference between someone who's always demanding proof of love and someone who simply overflows with joy just by sharing moments with their partner. The first person ends up overwhelming their partner with impossible expectations, while the second turns the relationship into something light and enjoyable. It's like watering a plant. If someone expects it to grow without care, they'll be disappointed. But if they nurture it with patience, it blooms naturally. Healthy relationships follow the same logic. They're not perfect, but they thrive when both people choose to nurture what they have. Sadhguru challenges: do you want a relationship, or are you just running from your own emptiness? Many people get into relationships not because they want to share their happiness, but because they expect the other person to fix their emotional issues. But that never works. The real key isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about building your own sense of wholeness so that love becomes a celebration, not a dependency. And when that happens, even the challenges of being together stop feeling like a burden and become opportunities to grow. Marriage has been seen as a sacred commitment, a social contract, or even a fairy tale, but Sadhguru shines a light on something most people ignore: the comedy hidden in it all. He jokes that many people enter marriage expecting a never-ending romance, only to quickly realize they've signed up for an improv show where the script rarely goes as planned. The biggest trap is idealizing your partner. The more perfect someone seems at the beginning, the bigger the shock when reality kicks in. The idea that love needs to be reinforced with eternal promises falls apart when you realize the real challenge isn't finding someone amazing, but learning to live with a real human being. Sadhguru tells hilarious stories of couples who swear eternal love until their first argument over which way to squeeze the toothpaste tube. The little quirks that once seemed charming can easily turn into daily sources of frustration. But the issue isn't marriage itself, it's the illusion that the perfect partner exists and that they'll never change. A couple that learns to laugh at their own unrealistic expectations and sees the relationship as a partnership, not a perfection contract, will have a much easier time navigating the ups and downs. After all, in any long-term relationship, if someone says they've never had doubts or frustrations, they're probably lying, or just haven't realized it yet. Love shouldn't be a constant search for external guarantees. It should be a space where imperfection is accepted without suffering. Unrealistic expectations and endless comparisons turn any marriage into a battle against an invisible enemy. Sadhguru insists that if you want a lasting relationship, you need to learn to laugh with your partner instead of expecting them to fit into a script that never actually existed. And when laughter becomes part of the equation, even the everyday struggles start feeling a whole lot lighter. If relationships were just about finding someone exactly like you, love would be one of the most boring concepts in life. Sadhguru points out that a real relationship thrives not because two people are identical, but because they learn to adjust to their differences. The problem is, many people see those differences as obstacles, when in reality, they're what make a connection real. Instead of trying to mold your partner into your own image, you have to learn to dance with the differences, respect the contrasts, and most importantly, see them as opportunities for growth. Think about a couple where one person loves outdoor adventures and the other prefers binge-watching shows on the couch. Instead of arguing about who's right, they could find a balance one day for hiking, another for popcorn and blankets. That's not about losing your identity. It's about understanding that a healthy relationship is built on compromise, not control. But many people go into relationships expecting their partner to be a perfect reflection of themselves, and any small difference turns into a source of frustration. Sadhguru suggests, what if, instead of looking for a mirror, you started seeing the beauty in a puzzle piece? Long-lasting relationships aren't the ones without conflicts. They're the ones where conflicts don't turn into never-ending battles. Adjusting to someone doesn't mean losing your essence. It means learning to coexist without letting differences become daily wars. It all comes down to perspective. If you see differences as a threat, you'll always be at odds with your partner. But if you choose to see them as a chance to expand your own understanding of life, then your relationship won't just survive, it will become a space for growth. A lot of people treat love like a transaction. I'll give you love if you give it back. But Sadhguru challenges this limited mindset, saying that love isn't an action or a deal, it's a state of being. If someone only loves when they get something in return, that's not love. That's just an emotional contract. Real love happens when there's no need for external validation, when it comes from within as a natural emotion, not as a favor that needs to be repaid. The people who understand this experience love fully, without the fear of rejection or the need for constant reassurance. Imagine a sun that only shines when someone compliments it. That wouldn't make any sense, right? Love should be like the sun, a force that radiates regardless of outside circumstances. But too many people do the opposite, dimming their light whenever they feel unappreciated. It's like a gardener planting a flower and getting frustrated because it doesn't bloom fast enough. Sadhguru says that when love becomes a state of being, it stops being a currency of exchange and turns into a continuous experience, one that enriches not just your relationship, but your entire life. The problem is that society teaches us that love has to be earned or deserved, creating an endless chase for validation. But what if, instead of waiting for someone to prove their love, a person simply decided to be loving by nature? This small mindset shift not only changes how relationships work, but also transforms the way we experience life. And when you learn to live this way, the need for control and unrealistic expectations fades away, making room for a deeper, more authentic connection. Marriage has never been a fixed institution. It has evolved over time, reflecting the needs and beliefs of each generation. What made sense for our grandparents may not work for their grandchildren, because the way people connect has changed drastically. Sadhguru points out that, in the past, marriage was more of a social and economic arrangement than a love-based decision. Today, we expect a partner to fulfill all our emotional needs, which creates impossible pressure. The issue isn't marriage itself, but the unrealistic expectations that society has built around it over the years. Think back to ancient times when marriages were arranged to maintain status, land, or political alliances. The idea of finding the perfect person didn't even exist. Stability was the priority. Today, marriage is about personal happiness, but few people stop to question whether this modern model really works for everyone. Sadhguru challenges: does a happy marriage depend only on finding the right person, or is it about understanding that our approach to relationships needs to evolve as life changes? This shift in mindset could be the key to avoiding unnecessary frustration. The mistake is trying to fit old models into modern realities without questioning if they still apply. Successful marriages today aren't the ones that blindly follow outdated rules, but the ones where couples create their own dynamic. What really matters isn't sticking to a predefined script, but understanding that love and companionship require constant adaptation. And when this flexibility exists, relationships become a space for growth, not a trap built on outdated traditions. Many people enter relationships expecting their partner to be the source of their happiness. But Sadhguru warns, if you depend on someone else to feel complete, sooner or later, that relationship will turn into a minefield of expectations and disappointments. The truth is simple: when two unhappy people come together, no amount of love can magically make it work. But when two people who already cultivate their own happiness meet, something truly beautiful can happen. Love becomes a choice, not a desperate need. Think about someone who's always demanding proof of love, attention, and affection just to feel good about themselves. Now, compare that to a person who already feels whole and naturally shares their happiness without expecting anything in return. Which of these relationships is more likely to last? The first one drains both partners, creates resentment, and ends in disappointment. The second one creates a light, open space where both people can grow together without suffocating each other. Sadhguru asks, what if, before looking for a relationship, you first learned to be happy on your own? That wouldn't eliminate the need for love. It would make it something far more powerful. The biggest mistake is believing that a partner should fill an internal void. But happiness isn't something you get, it's something you cultivate. If someone can't be happy alone, why expect another person to do it for them? Relationships should be a space for celebration, not emotional burden. And when happiness already exists within both partners, the relationship stops being a desperate search for completion and becomes a light, spontaneous dance where love flows naturally. Most people grow up believing that love is a transaction, something given and received in exchange for loyalty, commitment, or exclusivity. But Sadhguru breaks down this limited mindset, saying that love isn't a deal, nor is it a goal to be achieved. When people see love as something to be won, they start treating it like a prize, something that must be secured and protected. The problem with that? A constant fear of losing it. True love doesn't carry that insecurity because it isn't based on control or possession. It's a personal emotional state that can be cultivated no matter what's happening outside. Think about someone who enters a relationship expecting unconditional love, but the moment they sense the slightest distance, they panic. This kind of attachment is often mistaken for love, but in reality, it's just unresolved emotional dependency. Real love doesn't come from the fear of losing someone, it comes from the freedom to share feelings without conditions. Once you understand this, you stop trying to hold on to love and start creating it within yourself. And that's when relationships stop being a power struggle and turn into something real. Pop culture teaches us that love must be earned, like a trophy. But what if, instead, people learn to love without expecting something in return? That would eliminate most conflicts, because no one would be keeping score of who's giving more or receiving less. Sadhguru reminds us that love doesn't have to be complicated. It's a state of being, not a secret formula for a successful relationship. Once you truly understand that, the need for control disappears, and love can finally be experienced in its purest form. If everything you've been taught about love was wrong, how would that change the way you approach relationships? Instead of looking for someone to fill your emptiness, what if you became the person who brings wholeness to the relationship? Love doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require you to see it from a new perspective. Now, tell me, are you ready to experience a relationship without illusions? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue this journey of discovery.